Welcome, my name's Emma, and in this video I'm going to share with you my first 5 top tips for having a successful thrifting trip, and these will help you to avoid overwhelm, make sure that you stick to your budget, find those hidden gems, and most of all avoid disappointment. Tip number 1. So tip number 1 starts before you've even left the house, and this is about the essential items that you should take with you when thrifting. So first of all, make sure that you have some bags with you. So I like to use the cotton reusable bags, the tote bags, or I have some of those big reusable shopping bags that I fold up and put in my rucksack. Take those with me so that you've got something to put all of your hidden gems inside. I also make sure that I take some snacks and a drink with me as well, because when you're thrifting, you can get really kind of sucked in, and before you know it, time's passed. You don't realise, how hungry or thirsty you are. And if you have these things to hand, then you can just have a quick drink, have a snack, and then carry on thrifting. So it makes life a lot easier. Also, I like to take with me a tape measure. Now, this really is an essential item. So you can get just a cheap tape measure from a sewing shop or from most kind of DIY places. You can get little ones that kind of are on a key ring that you pull out and they spring back, and they're really easy just to have these in your handbag. Now, tape measures are fantastic for lots of different things. If you are looking for curtains, bedding, tablecloths, linen, that kind of stuff, this can be really handy, because in the charity shop, sometimes they do measure things. Sometimes they check the label and they'll put what size it is. However, sometimes they get it wrong. So I've made that mistake before, where I've gone looking for a double duvet cover, found something, quickly checked the price label and it said double duvet set £5, and I've bought it, only to find that when I get home and I unfold it all and check the actual care label, it says that it's a single. And that is extremely disappointing. So it's always best to have your tape measure, and then you can check to make sure that what you have in your hand is exactly what you need. If, like me, you look for jewellery and vintage jewellery or things that have hallmarks or branding on, you might want to consider taking a jeweller's loupe with you or a small magnifying glass. Now, this can be really, really handy and kind of help when looking for things like precious metals, gemstones, particular brands, designers, that kind of thing. There's nothing worse than kind of spending money on something thinking it might be silver, and then when you get home and check it, it's not. And if you did that in the charity shop and you checked it there and then, at least you know for sure, and then you can choose whether or not to purchase that item. So some other items I keep in my rucksack are things that help me to keep things safe whilst I'm thrifting. So if you are picking up things like small vases, anything that's glass or porcelain or pottery, ceramics, I always have a bit of bubble wrap in my rucksack, or some paper packaging, that kind of thing, something that I can wrap an item up with. Some charity shops will do this for you, so they'll have newspaper to hand or bubble wrap and they'll wrap things up, which is awesome. However, I always think it's best to go prepared just in case, because there's nothing worse than finding that ideal item, putting it in your rucksack and then getting home only to find out that it's broken because it's knocked against something, or you've put something else in there and they've smashed together. Always have a bit of bubble wrap or something that you can cushion your items with. Same goes for if you are travelling in the car. It might be a really good idea to have boxes in the boot of your car or on the back seat, and these are ideal for items that might roll around in the car that might get broken easily. So if you have some boxes, and you can always use the seat belt to hold your box in place, you can put items in there like vases, decorations, anything that you think might roll around or get damaged, just pop them in the box. Have some old blankets or rags or towels that you could use to put around the individual items, and then that way they're not going to clunk together and you can avoid any damage. Tip number 2. So for tip number 2, before you set off, what I would do is plan your route. So if it's somewhere that you've not been before, but you've heard that they've got awesome charity shops, what I tend to do first is I'll sit down, I'll get my phone out, and I'll Google and find all the charity shops in that area, and then I make a list. And that way it kind of helps to make sure that you don't miss any of the charity shops. And I also try and plan a little route as well, just so it's the most kind of efficient way of getting around the shops. I'm not kind of doubling back on myself or having to go up and down streets looking for things. If you've planned your route in advance, it means that you know where you're going, you know what you're looking out for, and you're going to hit every single charity shop along the way. On that route, also make sure that you look out for things like the car park where you're going to park. Make sure you can get close to the charity shops. You might want to know where conveniences are, like the toilets, public toilets. If you have your little dogling with you, like I often do, you might want to check which charity shops are dog friendly. Places are getting more dog friendly as time goes on, and they're actually putting big stickers or posters in the window to say we are dog friendly, which is awesome. Tip number 3. There's nothing worse than going thrifting in a big woolly jumper, and then when you get there, there's a top that you want to try on, and you really don't want to be taking all your layers off and, you know, trying something on and then having to put everything back on again. And also, in the UK especially, a lot of charity shops have closed their changing rooms. So not having a changing room can make it really difficult, and if you want to try something on, you might have to do it on the shop floor. So some charity shops will have kind of full length mirrors, and they'll say, you know, you're welcome to try something on over what you have on already. So that is really easy if it's a jacket or something. When it comes to trousers, obviously that's a bit more difficult. However, my way around this is if I'm looking for some trousers or some jeans, I tend to go thrifting in some leggings or tights, because this way that's a really thin layer that you have on your legs, and I find that I can get trousers over the top and try them on in the shop without having to, you know, worry about anybody seeing your underwear or your bum. You can try things on and make sure they fit before you make that purchase. And a little bonus tip here is if you're not comfortable trying things on in the shop, you don't want to be putting things on over your clothes, maybe you don't have the energy or you don't have the time, it's really good to familiarise yourself with the charity shop's return policy. So some charity shops are happy to let you return something within a certain amount of days and they'll give you a refund, or they will let you exchange it for something else. So that's something that you need to be aware of. So one thing I found out recently from one of the charity shops, it was a very rare occasion when I went into the British Heart Foundation with my nephew, and he wanted some skinny black jeans, but they had no changing room, it was closed. So we spoke to the lady at the till, and she said, actually, if you buy something from a British Heart Foundation, no matter where you buy it from, you can take it back to any British Heart Foundation charity shop. So we were in Leeds, so we were away from home, and it meant that we could buy them, and then if they didn't fit, we could take them back to the British Heart Foundation in our hometown, which was awesome. So it's really worth knowing what the return policies are so that it can help you decide whether you want to try it on in the shop or you want to buy it, try it on at home, and then return it later if it doesn't fit. Just like to take this opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you're enjoying the content. There will be a part 2 to this video as well, so there'll be these tips and then there'll be some further tips as well for when you are out and about thrifting. So if you do enjoy what you see, please subscribe, then you'll get the notifications. Give us a thumbs up, and if you'd like to send me any questions or make any comments, just drop those down below. Tip number 4. Tip number 4, make a list. So I absolutely love a list. I make lists for everything. So think about the things that you are looking for when you're thrifting. It might be that you are looking for a new pair of boots or some earrings to match a necklace that you already have. You might be looking for an outfit for an evening out. Whatever it is, make a list of the things that you're looking for. Now, this can help you to stay focused, and when you're in the charity shop, sometimes it can become really overwhelming because some are arranged quite nicely, so you can go straight to the trousers or you can go straight to the shoes. However, some charity shops have things kind of spread around everywhere, and it's a bit more of a jumble sale where you have to have a rummage. So if you have a list with you, then you can look at your list. It helps you to focus and look for exactly what you need, and that way as well it can help with budgeting. If you only focus on the things that you're looking for, you are less likely to be distracted and purchase things that you don't need. If you stick to your list, you can also stick to your budget. Tip number 5. So that takes me neatly on to tip number 5, setting a budget for yourself. Now, setting a budget is important for a couple of reasons. First of all, it can help you prevent overspend. And second of all, it can help prevent impulse buying. So those are two of the things that kind of can take you out of your budget zone. And a lot of us are struggling, particularly with the cost of living crisis. We're having to make those pennies stretch a little bit further. So setting a budget can be really, really important to make sure that you don't overspend. Setting a budget can also help to make sure that you are really thinking about the purchases that you make, that you are very in the moment, that you are present, that you look at something and think, do I need this in my life? Is this going to bring me joy? It will help to keep you focused. It will help to make sure that you don't buy things on a whim and things that you don't necessarily need. And also, sticking to a budget also creates a little challenge for yourself as well. So I love nothing more than kind of thinking, right, I've got someone's birthday coming up and we're going to go out and I would like a new outfit. So I think about roughly the cost of what it is that I'm going to purchase, and then I set myself a little budget. So for example, a whole outfit for £20. And then I'll take my £20, I will go into town and I'll make sure that whatever I purchase, I can fit within that budget. And it's just a fun way of kind of challenging yourself, making it a little bit more interesting. Plus, it's an interesting talking point as well. When you do meet up with your friends, you can kind of say, you know, when they compliment you on what you're wearing, you can share with them how you managed to get your entire outfit for a tiny budget. So this is something that I've been thinking about recently, and I would really advise other people to do, is make sure that you take some physical money with you when you go thrifting. Now, this is good for a number of reasons. So as we said in tip number 4, sticking to a budget. So if you know your budget is £30, if you take £30 in physical cash, then that is all you have to spend and you'll stick to it. So it keeps you focused on your budget. Also, it prevents kind of disappointment if you go into a charity shop and they're only going to accept cash. If you go in there and you don't have any cash on you, you've either got to search around for a cash machine and go back, or you're not going to be able to purchase something. And there are always those occasions where you go into a shop that usually does take card, however the system's down. I've had that happen to me several times. So it's always really, really handy to have some cash with you. So keep a little purse, have some physical cash in there, and then you're prepared. So in the next video, we're going to look at some more thrifting tips, and these will be tips for when you are actually out there in the charity shops thrifting. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, please stick around and I will catch you on the next one.